is it worth talking about, Fauci right now? And,
So essentially, no, because and we'll talk about it only for the second of, and that's where we could actually start sharing this screen.
Okay.
And that could be the last thing we say about Fauci right now.
Okay.
So this slide was probably the third slide in this slideshow. And what you see here is what you see here on the left-hand side is an invitation-only meeting. And this was chapter 8 of our first book. It was a workshop, Public Health Implications of XMRV Infection. And so it basically says, hey, there's so much data coming out that look like there may be a real problem with this new mouse-related family of retroviruses. And they invited from every level of the government and academia, you see on the left-hand side, experts from the divisions, from the CDC, the FDA, as you would when you suspect an agent is going through a contaminated blood supply, as HIV did. And so here and this was July 22nd, 2009. So 4 months before our paper, which we submitted on May 6, 2009. So that long a time while everybody vetted our data and everybody confirmed our data and nothing was shown wrong in the study. And then it came out with extreme fanfare. Well, Tony Fauci's NIAID, he's shown here at the NIH Clinical Center right there at NIH. Next to him on the right-hand side, I'm pointing to Francis Collins, the head of the NIH. Tony Fauci is the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. And here is Harold Varmus, who in 2011 was brought back to head the National Cancer Institute. And that's significant because these studies were done in collaboration with my lifelong mentor at the National Cancer Institute. And what they're doing here with Hillary Clinton in 2011, and this, by the way, is after they shut down XMRV politically and as a hoax. So the who and the why you can only come up with that what I told you before, and that is because these are the diseases. So everything with an asterisk has been in multiple publications associated with retroviruses, including this family or closely related family strains of these retroviruses. So I said 21st century acquired endocannabinoid because they hurt our endogenous cannabinoid system and immune dysfunction, so a different kind of AIDS than HIV. And I said unintended consequences of unsafe vaccinations and schedule. So what's important about these diseases is they are here's a 2010 quote from a meeting with a lifelong or a 20-year veteran, Suzanne Vernon of the CDC. And so after that September meeting where I showed not only more disease associations and more chronic fatigue syndrome, I also showed that there were other disease associations, including autism, including ITP. And so what she said was, after that conference, when the blood supply of London was contaminated, and Francis Collins there ordered Tony Fauci to fund a large multi-center validation study, and that's what we're talking about now. That was September 11th of 2010. And I said, well, she said, agency heads are scared to death if XMRV works out. And the question why is because in 1991, it was 1 million Americans infected with HIV. And in 2010, between 10 and 25 million Americans were infected with the XMRVs, which likely got into humans from contaminated blood and vaccines. So that's the big why. And so what are these people doing here? Well, they're giving an award to these investigators for cannabis drug development and research. I believe it's in Israel. It's certainly not in the U.S. I believe this is an Israeli researcher. I mean, they do fabulous work, but our government holds the patent since 2004 on cannabis natural plant therapies. American investigators can't do this research, and we're sending tax millions, if not tens of millions, of tax American dollars to, and these would be curative therapies for the XMRVs. So
Okay.
that's the who and the why.
Okay, and what does that prove that they refuted? That this isn't the cover-up. This isn't that he masterminded the entire cover-up. We didn't address that there.
No, and in fact, this was the group that in 2009, again, 4 months before the paper was published, heavily vetted, said, yes, this is a huge public health issue. So this is a huge public health issue. These people came in because of the cancer. Harold Varmus came back from where and took a $2 million pay cut, annual salary pay cut, to come back and run the National Cancer Institute because of the cancer implications of these studies. Because in these other presenters at the invitation-only meeting, at the July 22nd workshop, were other investigators who found similar viruses in other diseases, like cardiac disease, like prostate cancer and other cancers. So they're calling together experts saying, we have a huge public health problem. And then 4 months later, after they completely checked our work, our paper was published, and the work of some of the others on this list. These simultaneous papers came out in September and October showing, yes, XMRV, we isolated the virus. All our papers said for the first time, so all we knew since 2005 were there were sequences of the virus in men with aggressive forms of prostate cancer, and we appreciated the biology, the immunology, the susceptibility factors were an enzyme that degrades RNA.
So I'm just trying to understand what you just showed me on the screen. What does that prove? And do they just disagree that meeting existed, or disagree that conclusion was made?
Yeah, so they never mentioned this meeting and the fact that our paper was so heavily vetted. So then Science goes on to say, so it was vetted before it was published, heavily vetted, more than any single paper, I think, because of the implications, and then came out to great fanfare. And then the problems didn't come where they started attacking me and the messengers until the implications became so much bigger with the contaminated blood supplies and the vaccine.